Hey guys, it's Hannah, and before I start this video, I'm just going to complain about the weather, because as I'm filming this, not when you're watching this, you'll watch this a little bit later, but as I'm filming this, tomorrow's June, yes, kind of crazy, and it's raining outside. I live in Texas, it's supposed to be sweltering outside in June, and it's raining. Why? Why is it doing that? But this isn't a weather channel, so I will stop complaining about the weather and get into the actual purpose of this video, which is my wrap-up. So yes, this is my May wrap-up and June TBR, and yes, I cannot believe it's already June, which by the way, is my birthday month. How you doing? I actually read 7 books in the month of May, which is really good for me because usually I read about 5 books in a month, but this month I got 7 done, which is really good considering that, you know, end of May, end of school, trying to get all that stuff done. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm pretty proud of myself. The first book I read in the month of May was Animal Farm, and can I just take a moment to say how much I loathe this cover? I mean, if you look at this thing, it's hideous. It's hideous, and yes, I will be buying a newer, prettier version. I'm sure most of you know what this is about, but this is about a farm where the animals take over and then kind of create their own government system. And it's a very interesting read, very good read. It wasn't like my favorite read of all time, but I did really enjoy it. And actually, one of the pigs on the farm, who's one of the leaders, is actually based after Stalin. And so it's really cool to kind of see the ties into history it has, even though they're all animals and stuff. And it's just a really great read. I highly enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it if you are looking for some classics to read, because it was just great. And yes, I will be buying a different copy because I hate this cover with passion. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I read in the month of May was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir. This book has so much hype, and so I was kind of hesitant to go into it. And if you have been on my channel and if you watched my last wrap-up, you know I would get it on my Kindle and then I wouldn't have time to read it, so then I'd keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and I finally read it and I loved it. It was great. It wasn't my favorite book of all time. Like, I'm not gushing over it, if that makes sense, but I did really enjoy it. It started with a bang and I loved it from the beginning, but then towards the middle it kind of slowed down a bit for me, and then it picked back up again. So at first I was going to give it a 5 stars, and then I was like, maybe it's more of a 4 stars, like it's still really great, but it's just not the best thing ever, and then it's back to a 5 stars. So it was just a roller coaster of a book, but I highly enjoyed it. And this was one of those books where I wasn't sure who to ship who with, and Laia? That's what I've been saying, Laia? I don't know. And it's kind of nice, because usually when it comes to like these love triangles, I'm like, okay, no, that person. Gotta go with that person. But this one I was kind of like, well, I don't know. Now I have a preference, I think. But I really enjoyed that aspect. Another thing is Helene, I think, is that how you say her name, or is it just like Helen with an E? I don't know. But Helene, I never really cared for her much. Like, at some points I did like her, some points I didn't. And I didn't really care for the whole thing where he's like, I can't love her, she's my best friend. Like, that whole section, it was kind of like, what? Just push that aside. Try not to die. Then figure it out. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. Like, really enjoyed the book. And especially after that ending, I am so pumped. So pumped for the sequel. Like, I cannot wait. All the people who went to BEA, can you, like, send me a copy of one of those arcs that you got? Because I would like it very much. And I would love you forever if you did that. Just saying. The next book I read in the month of May was The Crown by Kira Cass. This book is the last book in the selection series, like the official last book in the selection series. We thought that the one was the last book, but oh no, this is now the last book. And I thought it was a pretty good ending to the series. The last 2 books have been getting kind of a bad rep, but I have enjoyed both of them. I think the thing is, a lot of people complain about the characters and how they're like to this or to that, but I don't know, I enjoy reading them when they're to this or to that, because it makes them seem more real, it makes them seem more likable. Well, I don't know if some people would argue about the likable part, but it makes them seem more real to me. And I don't know, I just really like that. And a lot of people complained about how there wasn't as much romance in this book and there was more politics, but personally I really enjoyed reading about the politics side of the novel, especially that one scene. You probably know what I'm talking about. if you've read the book, and if you aren't sure what I'm talking about, we can talk in the comments below, but there's one scene, and I just loved that scene so much. So much. And if you don't know what the selection is about, the first 3 books are about America Singer and her experience with the selection, and then the next 2 books are about Edelyn and her experience with the selection. And I'm not going to tell you how they relate exactly. You probably already know, but in case you don't, I'm not going to tell you how they relate, but basically they're all in the same universe, they all tie in, but the first 3 books are about America, and the last 2 books are about Edelyn. Who she chose was spoiled for me. If it hadn't been spoiled for me, I probably would not have seen it coming. And it wasn't who I was wanting her to go with. And honestly, it seemed a bit rushed. I mean, after the epilogue that came with my Barnes & Noble special edition, if you don't have the Barnes & Noble special edition, try to find the epilogue somewhere because it's a really nice addition to it. I liked it better that they had the epilogue, but I'm still kind of like, but this person, what's wrong with him? So I have mixed feelings about who she's with, if you can't tell. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because Kira Cass, y'all know, I love her so much. And I just really enjoy reading her books, and I loved it. Even though I had a few qualms about it, I loved it. So there you go. The next book I read was amazing, and I was not expecting it to be. And that book is Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster. This is actually a children's classic. And it is about a girl who is in an orphanage, but she's a bit too old for the orphanage, but she can't really go on and make her own path because she has no education. So one of the sponsors for the orphanage actually pays for her to go to college, and his only requirement of her is that she writes him letters telling him how she's doing. And you'd think, oh, she'll just write, okay, I got an A in science and a B in math or what, but no, she just writes about her life. And so the whole book is told from her letters to this mysterious man that she ends up calling Daddy Longlegs. And it was just amazing. Simply amazing. And I loved it. Judy Abbott is like the best narrator ever. Basically, I think the reason I like it so much is because I'm kind of sarcastic when I write. And through 4-H we have the thing called Record Book where basically you write about your year and what you did in that year through 4-H. And I have a very realistic and sarcastic tone in my writing, I guess you could say, and she has that. And so basically I felt like I was writing these letters, and I just really loved that because I could put myself in her place, and it was just perfect. So perfect, and I loved it. And just trust me, you will love this book. You should read this book. Yes, it's a children's classic, so yes, it's a classic, and yes, it's technically a children's book. Ignore those facts. You will love it. You need to read it. Like, just trust me on this. It's amazing. I can't talk about it enough. It's amazing. The next book I read in the month of May was Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. And I read this to kind of participate in Maureen from Maureen TV's Month of Matson, where she rereads every Morgan Matson book, and I decided, you know what? I've never read a Morgan Matson book. Let's read one of them. And so I asked her, and I was like, which one should I read? And she goes, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. And I was like, okay. So I got it from my library, and I read it, and I really enjoyed it. It's not one of my like all-time favorite books, but it was a really good read. I didn't give it 4 out of 5 stars, and I just highly enjoyed it. Only problem is it really made me want to go on a road trip. So there's that. I thought the 2 problems that the characters were dealing with on their road trip and during their road trip were really great. I loved the fact how they just kind of did their own thing for the road trip. Loved that. Basically, I just loved everything that happened during the road trip. And I really liked the way the ending went with like their whole relationship thing, and I don't want to spoil anything and I can't spoil anything, but I just love how she did that, and especially how on the back of the book, like that back page, there's that one receipt. That was a nice touch. I really enjoyed that. So overall, it was a really great book and I highly enjoyed it. Next book I read in the month of May was First Date by Krista McGee. And if you saw my book haul, which should be up by now, then you know that I have already read this book. I like just got it, have already read it, and I highly enjoyed it. If you like the selection, then you will like this book. Because basically, it's like a modern day selection in a sense. It's about the president's son, and he holds a reality TV show competition to pick a prom date. Can you tell how happy that summary makes me? Because it sounds ridiculous. because it is. It's just a hilarious book. It's about an average, everyday girl who gets picked, and she doesn't want to be picked, but she goes anyway, and she doesn't want to be there. And doesn't this make you think of the selection? I mean, I'm telling you guys, it's amazing, and it's hilarious, and I loved it. Oh, so much. And Addie was just such a great character. I could relate to her a lot, and her friend Kara and her other friend Lexi were hilarious, and just any interaction that Addie had with those two characters I loved, and it was just a great book. So if you want a cute, sweet, summery romance that kind of reminds you of the selection if you're having the feels about ending the selection, then pick up this book. You will not regret it. The last book I read in the month of May is not my average book. Not at all. And that is You Have a Brain, A Teen's Guide to Thinking Big by Dr. Ben Carson. Kind of odd for me, I know, right? I actually read this for school because Mama was like, you know, you finished early. You're gonna read one more book that I'm assigning you. Here's a giant stack. Pick one. Let me just say, it's really hard to pick one book out of a 3-foot tall stack. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It was like a 1-foot tall stack, but still. It was a big stack of books. And I decided to read this one because, as some of y'all know, next year will be my senior year in high school, and I'm currently, whoa, that was lightning. And I'm currently kind of freaking out about the whole college situation. And this book is kind of about helping you figure out what you want to do with your life. And how to do it with your life. And how to act in life. And how to do life. And I was like, you know, hey, he's a good guy. Let's read his book. And it was a great book. I highly enjoyed it. Still freaking out, but I'm a little less so. And if you just need help, I don't know, then you should only read it. 4 out of 5 stars, but just so you know, I rate these types of books differently than I rate other types of books. So even though both this and Ember in the Ashes had a 4 out of 5 stars, they aren't tied exactly. Does that make sense? Maybe I should do a video about how I rate books. But just know, for like a self-help kind of book, this was a 4 out of 5 stars. Now we're gonna go on to the June TBR. So the first book I want to read in June I'm actually currently reading, and that is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. If you don't know what this book is about, what? Because I'm late to the bandwagon of reading this, guys. So if you don't know what this book is about, let me tell you. All I like to say when I describe this book is it's a retelling of Cinderella, where Cinderella is a cyborg. And then you just stop there. That's all you say. Obviously, now that I've been reading it, I know it's a little bit more than that. And it has more depth to it than that, but at its roots, that's what it is, and it's fantastic so far, and I can't wait to finish it. And once I finish Cinder, hopefully I'll be able to move on to Scarlet. I actually don't have it from the library yet. I'm on the waiting list for the digital copy, and on the waiting list for the physical copy. I already have Cress from the library, so once I get Scarlet, I am ready to go with the next one, but I haven't gotten Scarlet yet, so it just depends on when I get Scarlet as to when I get to continue on with the series once I finish Cinder. And if I don't get Scarlet right away, then the book I'm going to read kind of in between them is going to be Wonder by R.J. Palacio. And even if I do get Scarlet next, I'm going to read it sometime this month. I don't really know what this book is about, to be honest. I do know it's like some kid has an abnormality on his face, and he has to deal with that, I think. I don't know. A friend gave it to me for Christmas, and it's one of her favorite books, and so I'm going to finally read it. And then we'll see if I like it. Yeah. The last thing on my definite TBR that I want to read in June is the Anne of Green Gables series. I want to start it sometime this month. And if you watched my series I want to read this summer video, I will link it down below if you haven't, then you know that I was kind of wondering how to start the series because I'd already read the first 2 books. And I've decided that I'm going to reread the first 2 books because it's Anne of Green Gables. I already know that I love it. Might as well go ahead and reread it. It's been years since I've read it, so I'm gonna do that. So I'll be starting with Anne of Green Gables, and then continuing on from there. And we'll see how far I get in the month of June. Who knows? So that's it for this wrap-up. Let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I just read, or that I'm going to read, and let's talk about them. Let's just talk in the comments about books, because that's what we do here on BookTube. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see y'all again in another one soon.